Hello, everyone. Just give it a minute or two. Nice to see the numbers ticking up. Excellent. Just 30 more seconds or so. Okay, I'm going to kick off because there's well, these things have to run on time, just like our wonderful transport system. So thank you all for coming. I'm sure more will come as I get through the intro, but my intro is the least important part. This is about the future of your union this evening and who is going to be elected as the next General Secretary to lead it. Apologies. It's obviously a really crucial time for the union. I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about that tonight. The publication of the Kennedy report in February obviously raised really big questions for the direction of the TSSA. And I've been covering it a little bit in my role at Byline Times. So I'm chief reporter at Byline Times, where I do cover trade unions. That's part of my contract, which is really wonderful. I'm chairing tonight in a personal capacity, but I hope that doesn't take away from any of my my probing of the candidates. The questions that were sent in have all come from members of the union, so really delighted to be asking some of those. I'll just very quickly take you through the structure of this evening. So we're going to have various sections. We're going to start with 2 minutes 30 each for opening statements from the candidates. Remember, we've got 3 candidates running. That's Duncan Bates, Bonnie Craven, and Maryam Eslamdoust. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to be talking through skills and experience, the Kennedy report, democratic structures, a quick fire round on staffing, so get ready for that, candidates, questions on the future of the union, and then at the end there's a spicy little section where the candidates will be invited to ask one of the other candidates a question themselves, and then of course we'll wrap up. We're hoping to wrap up around 6:15. We'll try and be fairly punctual on time, as I say. This election is slightly different to previous ones. So obviously after the Kennedy report, big reforms have been making their way through the union. Previously in leadership elections, as I understand it, and I hope I'll be corrected on this if I get it wrong, usually you needed 5 branches from at least 2 divisional councils to nominate you in order to become a candidate. You can now be nominated by the executive committee as well. Previously, you also had to be a member of the union for 5 years. That's now changed. You now can be a member of any TUC or Irish TUC affiliated union for 5 years or more. And that change was designed to stop sort of power hoarding, this idea of power hoarding raised in the Kennedy report, and try and find ways around that. The TUC advertised externally, and the union had applications, I think, from quite widely from across the movement. And there's a mixture of candidates here tonight through those different routes. So it should be a really interesting discussion. Without further ado, then, I'm going to kick off. So we're going to have opening statements, as I say, 2 minutes 30 per candidate each. I'll try and pick in the order that my camera is going for who's going to start. So if that's okay, we've got Will Boisseau from the comms team, the membership team, on hand to track timings. And we'll start with you, Duncan Bates, your opening statement, 2 minutes 30, please, starting now. And I think you're on mute. Many apologies, Duncan. Don't worry, that won't go into your time.
Yeah, it was a mute. Right, thanks everybody for coming along and listening to us 3 put ourselves forward for General Secretary. Unlike the other candidates, I wasn't asked to stand. I felt I had to stand because of everything that's happened over the last couple of years within the TSSA. Give you a bit of a background about myself. I was a guard, Manchester Victoria in 1998. Went on to driver 2001. Became a union rep just short after that, company council with ASLA for drivers. I did that till 2015 when I became driver manager. I was asked to join the TSSA just for a number of issues, and immediately it was put on the Managers Council, which was like 8 years ago. We've done all right. I was on the pension committee for the RPMI for the former FNW. I'm currently on the audit committee for the TSSA. I'm on the EC, and I'm on the crisis management group. The reason I'm standing is we've had a lot of problems. Regardless of the Kennedy and Connolly report, there was a lot more issues deep down in there that need fixing and need addressing. One of them is representing our members. The full-time officers we have, we don't have enough. We need to recruit more. We need more training for our reps moving forward. The finances were not fantastic. They're slowly coming back. We've had a deep delve, forensic investigation on that. That's uncovered a lot, but on a thing to go forward, yeah, financially, we're all right. Nationalisation of the railway, we've all been fighting for it. We know that Labour have it on the agenda on the manifesto. I would like to see it come forward. We shall see. They keep changing their minds at the minute. So with that, we will see. The problems with the unions that need fixing, we don't have enough branch attendees. We really don't. I mean, I attend a branch every month, and we need to get the young people more involved, and we need the branch structure to be there for the people to come along. It can't all be politics and work issues. You need it more social, so people want to come along and sit down and talk to people. The SOGs need to be more involved with the General Secretary. Quarterly meetings, for example, where people can come in, say the problems and issues, and the General Secretary can take that away. That's 2 minutes 30.
Very, very, very happy to come under time. We didn't have Will saying you were over, so that's appreciated.
All right, I timed it myself.
All good. Great. So next, we're going to go to next on my screen, which is Maryam Eslamdoust. Your 2 minutes 30 starts now.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Maryam Eslamdoust, and I'm here to talk about a brighter future for our union. TSSA has been in knots for far too long, but if you elect me, we'll resolve the crisis, professionalise the union, and bring our focus back to jobs, pay, terms, and conditions. This year's conference responded to Kennedy by passing rule changes to allow the EC to recommend the candidate with the skills, experience, and passion to lead our union to a brighter future. After an exhaustive process, the EC recommended me as the only candidate with those qualities. And with the EC and branches, I've received more nominations than any other candidate. I've been a trade union and labour movement professional for 15 years, with particular senior leadership experience in equalities and in guiding major organisational change. An example of this is when I was head of equalities at the Labour Party. I used the position both to promote opportunities, voices and policies for underrepresented groups. And I was also tasked with implementing wide-ranging organisational change, including completely re-establishing representative structures for women, BAME and disabled members. I ran the Secretariat servicing these structures. So the core demands of running an efficient Secretariat have been well tested in me. Public transport is in my soul. My brother was born blind, and the support of TSSA station and train staff has been key to his freedom all his life. So from an early age, I was campaigning alongside him on access, staffing, and transport issues. One of my proudest moments in our movement is spending a significant period of time working to achieve justice for blacklisted construction workers, taking on some of the largest construction companies in the world. Enough about me, let's discuss what TSSA can do next for members. I want an industrially strong, financially healthy and independent TSSA with the clout to robustly promote our members' interests. But we must be honest, TSSA has been in crisis, so I'll get the administration back on track, implementing both Kennedy and Connolly reports and renewing our union's culture and professionalism. It's easy for others to say they'll do this, but my experience in equalities and organisational change give me the skills we need to achieve it. And as a minority ethnic woman, I've been fighting these battles every day. But internal matters are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. Under my leadership,
final sentence or two then, Maryam.
Under my leadership, we'll repair our internal issues as swiftly as possible, so our full focus can return to members, jobs, pay, terms and conditions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I meant to mention two quick pieces of one quick piece of housekeeping, which is that this is being recorded tonight. Don't worry, those attendees, your names won't be out there, but to the speakers, this will be shared among members who couldn't make it tonight. So I think that's a really good way of further getting the message out there. The other bit of housekeeping is that obviously ballots go out tomorrow. It's a paper ballot. Unlike the Conservatives, which allow their members to vote online, unfortunately, trade union laws don't allow that for unions. But paper ballots should be going out tomorrow. Closing date for receipt of ballot papers is the 22nd of September. So next candidate, please. Bonnie Craven, you're next. 2 minutes 30 starts now.
Thanks, Josiah. It's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to address so many of our members this evening. Thank you for coming. I'm standing to be our next General Secretary because I know our industries and our union, and because members have been asking me to run for years. After Kennedy, I knew that I had to stand. I started my working life at John Brown's Engineers on a project for the London Jubilee Line extension project on the London Underground, and in '95 I moved to work directly with LUL in the Engineering Directorate. I've been an activist and a campaigner all my life with my complete focus on our public services. I've set up campaign groups to support essential services, and I will be making the case for the proper renationalisation of our railway. When I secured my job at TSSA, in early 2017, it felt like coming home. All of the work I've been doing all my life had led to this. Collective bargaining, negotiations and casework were in my remit and for the first few years, I was responsible for the UK's largest TOC, GTR and SWR as well. If elected, I will recruit an analyst to examine the trends in recruitment and retention so we can identify why our members have left and why other people are joining us, which will help inform sharp strategies to reverse the fall in membership that we've been experiencing for some time, but particularly over the last decade or so. With the EC, I'll examine the contracts that are in place to ensure that we're getting best value for your money and see if we can bring more of our operations in-house. I'm no fan of outsourcing. To become the active campaigning union that we should be, I will work to get a comprehensive training programme for our reps and activists to empower our members in their workplace. As GS, I'll ensure that SOGs and branches have the resources they need to grow their attendance and activity. Transparency will be at the heart of our union, and with clear and open communications between members, reps, the EC, staff and me, your GS. I'm glad that there will be an all reps meeting in 2 weeks to discuss the next steps on the ticket office and pay issue. I intend to work really closely in support of our SOGs, and we need to work with all of the groups supporting marginalised demographics so that our union membership, lay structure and staff look like the workplaces we represent. Too many branches have become really poorly attended, and this is bad for our democracy. I'll offer tools.
Last sentence.
Can I just finish my sentence?
Of course.
I'll offer tools to help them grow. I'm proud to work for our members every day. If elected, I will remember our past and secure our future as a industrially strong, independent trade union. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the candidates for their opening statements. I hope that gave all those attending a bit of a gist. But now we're going to get into the questions that you've been asking as the 18,000 or so members of the TSSA. So we're starting with the skills and experience round. We've got 2 questions here. We're going to have each candidate having 2 minutes to respond to each question. And then once we've done all that, we're going to have a few minutes of open discussion as well. So first question, and I'll go in reverse order this time. So it will be Maryam, Bonnie and Duncan. Sorry, Bonnie, Maryam and then Duncan. First question is, what's your greatest achievement in the trade union movement? So who did I say I was starting with? terrible. Bonnie, yeah, you go first. You've got
Hi
2
there.
minutes
Yeah.
left now.
Okay, I've achieved lots of things, including securing recognition for the strategically important controller grades in GTR, which has then led on to my colleagues being able to secure similar agreements within their own TOCs. But probably my proudest achievement is the work that I did when the pandemic started. In Victoria Station, the ticket office there, we've a number of members, and there are a number of health and safety issues in the lead up to the pandemic, which meant that staff were unable to wash their hands in the ticket offices, despite the fact that in February 2020, that was pretty much all we were being told to protect ourselves. So I campaigned to get hand washing facilities installed there. On GTR as well, I worked every week with the directors of the company and with our reps to secure other protections. So we fought for the PPE, we fought for protections to be put in place for our onboard staff so that they could maintain social distancing. Actually, we were the only union that were in those meetings every week. And in those meetings, we secured some wins. We also negotiated for something called a COVID age risk assessment, which assigned a score to every single member of staff based on any underlying health conditions, their age, their living conditions, and their ethnicity. And this helped us identify which members of staff would be most at risk from contracting COVID. And as a result of that, we managed to secure an arrangement called the home spare, and that meant none of our members had to suffer pay losses or furlough or any of that. It meant that the most protected people from the COVID pandemic, and remember in 2020 we didn't really understand how it was spread or what it was, we just knew that it was killing people disproportionately along those demographics. The home spare arrangement meant that only the fittest, healthiest staff were actually called in to do frontline work, and those that were more vulnerable were left at home and still got full pay. So that was a massive achievement and a brand new strategy to look after our members. There'll be more pandemics, there'll be more work we need to do like that, but having installed that in GTR, which is the biggest franchise in the UK, I think that that's a good...
Oh, I'm so sorry, Bonnie, you're out of time there. And also my bad for you going after finishing your opening statement. But next we're going to go to Maryam, please. So what's your greatest achievement in the trade union movement? Your 2 minutes starts now.
One of my proudest achievements in the trade union movement is spending a significant amount of time working to achieve justice and compensation for blacklisted construction workers. These were workers who were denied work for just being trade unionists. Their names and national insurance numbers were fed into a covert list and shared by some of the largest construction companies in the world. Once on the list, they were never able to get on jobs again. For lots of them, their marriages broke down. Their mental health took a battering. They just didn't understand what was happening. I worked alongside senior officials at UCAT to build a legal case and calculate potential losses. I sat and interviewed big burly men, retired men, who were in tears because they only found out that their life had been ruined because of this illegal practice of blacklisting. I was a Camden councillor at the time, and I used the platform to table a motion to deny local authority procurement to blacklisting companies. I promoted this motion amongst other local authorities. I think that's one of my proudest achievements in the trade union movement.
Thank you very much. And Duncan, your greatest achievement so far in the union movement?
Greatest achievement, I would say we're getting full recognition within Northern Rail for all managers. We've also implemented the latest for all managers. I wouldn't say one achievement's there. There's many people in this conversation that I've probably presented. I've travelled the country representing people, even not in my own firm. Penzance, Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds.
Oh, is that my line or Duncan? Is your line cutting out a little bit?
Is it? Is it mine cutting out a bit? Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, carry on at the start of your last.
I think the biggest thing is what the union needs. It's people to represent our members. I've done it all around the country. I got the learner rep agreement, procedure agreement in at Northern Rail, well, First North Western back in the day. I feel the qualities I've got is looking after the members, which I think we need. We need somebody to come in, look after the members, give them the members the value for money that they deserve. I don't blow my trumpet about it. I don't put it all over Facebook, all over social media, because when you look after a member, it's private, and they don't want it all over them, you know, all over the network. So my greatest achievement in the TUC and the trade union network is looking after our members and making sure that they're cared for and well represented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks all for that. So next question on skills and experience sent in by one of the members. What campaigns have you been involved in that specifically targeted underrepresented groups? What did you do? How did you do it? And what was the outcome? So this question is about campaigns you've helped run or been involved in that's targeted or boosted membership among underrepresented groups. So we're going to start with Maryam this time.
I've been an elected councillor for 12 years, so I've been involved in a lot of campaigns. I was mayor for 2. One of which was when I took on Central London strip clubs and challenged their disgusting practices. In the process, I secured rights for women dancers. But I was really fortunate to work on TSSA's ticket office campaign from the outset. I've travelled up and down the country campaigning with TSSA activists, promoting TSSA on social media, regional media, national media. I've even enlisted the help of a celebrity to amplify the campaign. I've specifically reached out to disabled groups and passengers. I helped coordinate a joint action with TSSA and Disability Labour. And as a consequence, Disability Labour have messaged me and said they want to be very collaborative and work closer with TSSA moving forward. My route into transport was through accessibility, through my brother's disability. So it's a real pleasure fostering this closer working with TSSA and disability groups.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go next to Bonnie, please. So, and just to reiterate the question, what campaigns have you been involved in or helped run that's boosted union membership or targeted underrepresented groups?
Look, there's a lot I can mention. To begin with, I'll refer back to the COVID age risk assessment I did that protected Black and minority ethnic members of staff as much as we could from COVID, as they were the most vulnerable group in it. But actually, probably the biggest part of work I've done on supporting underrepresented groups and growing our membership was after I moved from being an industrial organiser in London, I was transferred to the strategic organising and campaigns team to work with my colleagues based in the Glasgow office. The demographics in Scotland are quite different to in England, which I was used to working with, insofar as there was less ethnic diversity. But what was really significant was that the rail industry and most of travel is very male dominated. Our gender split in the TSSA is slightly better than it is generally in the industries in which we organise. But in Scotland, we've actually got a higher proportion of women members compared to men and compared to the wider industry picture and the wider union picture. But what I found was there were very few women reps. And part of the problem is women reps often have other commitments outside of work. Pre-COVID, then they would have found it difficult quite often to attend branch meetings and what have you. But in the advent of COVID and hybrid and online meetings, a lot of people who were previously excluded from being reps and getting really active in their branches were women and people of certain religions. So in Scotland, I focused on recruiting as many women reps as I possibly could, because that's where the biggest shortfall was in Scotland. I did that by contacting the women members, getting to know our members in various workplaces, finding out who they thought would make a good representative and having conversations with those representatives. In Scotland, we'd had a vacancy for a rep for about 4 or 5 years. The previous rep actually lived...
Last sentence. If you want to finish it off, what you're saying.
I was going to say, thank you. Our previous rep was a man who lived in Liverpool. So it was a real achievement to get a woman rep for BTP in Scotland, as well as the women reps I got in ScotRail and Network Rail as well. So I'm pleased to have addressed that balance. Our reps are the ones that
I will
encourage members
we'll
to
have
join.
to stop you there, Bonnie, but thank you for that. And Duncan, now to finish off this second question.
You won't have to cut me short, don't worry. I don't think I'll be on for 2 minutes if I'm honest. Back in the late 2000s, I was involved with the TUC for the Union Learner Reps, which we got the procedure agreement in at Northern Rail. I also signed with Virgin, as it was then, and TransPennine and a few other firms. We've actually got it in at Northern as a Union Learner Rep, which recruited more members, and obviously we got more people coming through, and education was a major part of it at the time. The ticket office campaign I've been involved in, as everybody knows. They see me popping around at different stations. And that's it. Whether it's minorities, I don't think it is minorities, but that's the people I've helped out. Obviously, I don't have enough time as Bonnie and Maryam running around the country because I do have a full-time job. And, you know, them are the only campaigns I've been involved in. Whether it's minorities, maybe not, but at least it's an honest answer.
Thank you very much. So we've got a few minutes now to have a bit more of an open discussion, and we'll also encourage people to respectfully maybe question or speak up about other candidates as well. Obviously, emphasis on respectful, but if you do want to sort of challenge each other on what you can do to boost skills in the TSSA and also why you're the better candidate. So where to start with? Why? Let's start with Bonnie this time. Why you over the other candidates? Why do you have maybe more experience or expertise in being able to run union?
That's $1 million question, isn't it? Look, I started working on the railway. I've done loads of organising campaigning for the public sector. I got a job at TSSA. I've done a good job at TSSA, despite the fact that first 3 years in TSSA, I was subjected to horrendous bullying from my line manager, who is currently suspended off the back of the Kennedy report. The easy thing to do would have been for me to seek a job outside of our union, but I had built such a relationship and I was so passionate about our members and the industries we organise in that was the last thing I would do. I wasn't going to be bullied out. I wasn't going to be shut up. I carried on in the job. I got a transfer. I wasn't going to leave. So the bottom line is I've got the experience in the industry because I've worked in it. I know it. I understand it. I know all the hurdles that our members are facing. Well, most of the hurdles that our members are facing personally. I've worked in the union. I've seen where things have fallen down. I could see how the power hoarding developed. I knew what was going on. As a member of staff who experienced the bullying, I put in a grievance against my line manager. In the end, it was heard by the then General Secretary. So that was a very difficult process to get through. I will be wanting to put in structures in place, and I believe the change management group at the moment are looking at consultants so we can whistleblow as members of staff. I'm in the union. I was in the industry. I work for the union. I know where the problems and pitfalls are. I've got leadership experience as well in a previous career, and I'm absolutely determined to turn this union around so that all of my colleagues who've stuck with us thick and thin can do what they can do for our members.
I think that raises some interesting questions. I mean, there have been a lot of members of staff in the union who will come on to staffing a bit later, who have obviously left in recent months. Why do you, Maryam, sort of feel you have more of the expertise and skills needed to take over the union at this time than perhaps the others?
I was sought out to stand by activists because they knew that I was someone with professional equalities experience and had experience of carrying out culture change. Having worked in Parliament for the leader of the Labour Party, I know how to best utilise the TSSA as a federation. I have experience of working in a similarly sized trade union. I worked at UCAT, which was a fairly small union, very specialist union. I've led a borough for 2 years as mayor, representing 100,000 people. I have endorsements from trade unionists, media leaders, and parliamentarians. Mick Whelan from ASLEF is one of my referees. Don't know if it matters, but I have a master's in law. If necessary, I can fall back on those skills in negotiations. I've served on a large local authority pensions committee. I'll be the fresh start at TSSA that TSSA needs, and I'm member focused. So please consider giving me your vote.
This is the CV round, and we're coming to an end of this round shortly. But Duncan, do you have what it takes to lead a trade union? What do you bring to the table?
I think the main thing I am is pragmatic moving forward. I've seen where the issues are and the problems in the union. It's obviously there's a lot of staffing levels that are problems. There's training that's problems. There's communications that are problems, not just the website, the internal communications. The members need to be treated first and looked after first. The politics isn't in there if we haven't got a union at the end of the day. You can't promote the politics unless we've got a union. We need the union to start afresh from the ashes, moving forward. The only way we can do that is fix the problems that were in there. Put the senior management team in, make sure they work correctly with the EC. Nothing is held from the EC. Training for all staff. Training for our members, for our union reps. I come from a position where I've not received any training from the TSSA. I've had training previously, so I've got the knowledge. Now that knowledge needs to be passed on. We have a lot of retired members that can pass that knowledge on as well. We should be writing our own training course with those people in mind that can pass the information on.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I think just leaping off the back of what you said a few seconds ago on culture change in the union, our next section, I want to really give it a good amount of time, is on the Kennedy report, that damning report out in February on a culture of bullying and misogyny in the union, and we're going to give that around 15 minutes, so just gone 5:45. Again, similar format. I'm going to ask 2 questions from members on the Kennedy report and reforms needed in the union, with candidates having 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then again a few minutes of open discussion. And in this part, do feel free to challenge each other, obviously with a bit of moderation from me. But let's start with the first question on this section. Candidates, what are your specific plans for implementing the recommendations of the Kennedy and Connolly reports, and for ensuring any changes aren't just cosmetic but lead to fundamental change? So for that one, we're going to start with Bonnie, please. Your plans for implementing the 2 reports out on change needed in the union and making sure that fundamental reform happens. 2 minutes.
Me first again, yeah?
Oh, sorry, Bonnie. No, when you're sharing, you lose track of who goes first. Maryam, let's have you first.
So culture change takes time and can't be achieved in one act alone. We need to complete the work of the crisis management team, and we need to make the policy changes that were recommended in full. We need to have a separate sexual harassment policy. We need to necessitate mandatory equalities training for EC, for staff, for reps, and also feature it in members' induction literature. We need to have codes of conduct to set out the standards that we expect of everyone. Equalities training can't be a one-off. Equalities is constantly evolving, so there needs to be refresher training fairly regularly. And we need to make way for an independent investigations for bullying and sexual harassment. I guess the way to achieve fundamental change is through regular equality surveys, with diversity inclusion at the heart of everything that we do. So I would suggest including the SOGs in all our endeavours.
Okay. Next, Duncan, we're going to go to you. Your specific plans for implementing Kennedy and Connolly reports and ensuring that fundamental change actually happened. Your 2 minutes now, please.
Yeah, certainly. I'm actually on the crisis management team, and they're implementing sexual harassment procedures, codes of conduct, blowing. I think you said it right, Josiah. Is it going to be there just to paper over the cracks and look pretty, or is it going to have a purpose and work well? The only way we can do it is if we work together. The EC, for the first time in a number of years, have received governance, which is something that's not happened for a while. Now, with the EC receiving governance, That means everything else should fall into place. If a complaint is made by a member of staff or by a member of the union or a member of the EC, it will now go to a separate area, and it will then be reported back to the senior management team unless they're specifically named or anything like that. We've got to do it properly. There's no point saying we'll have a procedure and there you go, there's a procedure, walk away. It doesn't work like that. We've got to ensure that it works properly and it works for every individual in our union, that everybody's treated the same with respect. It's got to be done moving forward. We don't want another Kennedy or Connolly report. It's going to come up in other trade unions as it does with other trade unions. We've got to be the guiding light on this and show everybody an example of how a union should be run from the ashes moving forward with total respect and dignity to all staff and all members.
Thank you for that, Duncan. And yeah, now Bonnie, over to you.
Thank you. As I said before, I was one of the members of staff that was deeply affected by the bullying and harassment that went on in the workplace. I gave extensive evidence to the Kennedy report and to other investigations that have gone on. As I said, the procedures that were in place were just not suitable for such a small organisation. There was too much power hoarding and everything else. So the number one thing, Duncan got it right, the number one thing that was missing was respect. Respect for staff, respect for management, although there was more fear than respect for management, and really crucially, respect for our reps and respect for our members. I was really shocked to hear my former line manager talk about those people in a real disparaging way. It was unacceptable. You members are our lifeblood. You're what we do the job for and you're what we work for. That was unacceptable. So there is still we've had 6 months of change. We're moving in the right direction, but it's far from embedded. And part of the reason for that is the bad practices that's been established over a period of probably close to 20 years. There's a lot of things to be put right and a lot of people's fears that still need to be soothed and calmed, because we are in a new era. But I can tell you as a member of staff, there is still quite an element of fear amongst the staff about various things. As trade unionists, we must, and as a leader of a union, being the general secretary, we absolutely must lead by our by our values, basically our underlying values. And we lead by them and we demonstrate best practice for all staff in our union, because that is what we expect for our members when we're negotiating with their employers. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not massively impressed by training sessions and so on. Reason being, when Claire Laycock first made a complaint about what happened with the previous general secretary, every member of staff was sent on sexual harassment training. That wasn't necessary. That was the wrong thing to do. Can I just add one more thing?
Last sentence, yeah.
Okay, I'm on the TUC Leading Change programme, which is a high-profile programme, and it's attended by general secretaries and assistant general secretaries of 12 other unions currently. Every union's got some problems. Let TSSA be the first one to fix them.
Thank you for your succinct summing up when yeah, we offer that time. That's great. So a very linked question again on the Kennedy report here to all the panelists. And it's about power hoarding. Big criticism of the Kennedy report was that power was being held by a very small clique at HQ. Obviously, major allegations of issues with the drinking culture, with bullying, with harassment. Several members of staff and senior figures have obviously gone. How will you ensure that similar power hoarding never happened again? And what would be your most urgent priority? This is a thing I'm going to add from that member's question. What's your most urgent priority that you would get done to implement the Kennedy report? So this time we're going to start with Duncan on this one. How do you stop the power hoarding?
Yeah, well, you have to stop the power hoarding. That's why the EC have been given governance training. Everything that comes in, we've got now people doing audits, members of the EC doing audits. The president and treasurer are both new in there. There'll be a new general secretary who will be once a year have a review on what's happened and what's going through. The power hoarding was never challenged. That's what we have to do going forward, whether I'm an EC member or a general secretary. challenging has to come forward from that. We can't have 3 or 4 people running a union, signing contracts, signing agreements, making agreements without the full agreement of the EC. The EC are the board and the governance of this union. The only way we can move that forward so it doesn't fall into the hole it was previously is ensure that EC are trained and they know what they can and cannot do. Going forward, the EC are going to be the main factor in the union changing, along with the General Secretary and the staff. The first thing to do is find out how many more staff we can employ and how we can move forward for our members.
Thank you very much. Maryam, you next, please. How do you stop the power hoarding? What's the top priority for you to get those reforms implemented?
I think since the Kennedy and Conley reports came out, the GS's role has been made more accountable and better defined. But I would go even further and say that the GS's performance should be reviewed very regularly by the EC. My understanding of the role of GS is that the GS is a servant to the EC and its members. I will make the role even more accountable by devoting time and effort to strengthening our democratic structures to ensure that power is spread and so members can hold the administration to account. An example of this could be that I will invite the SOGs to EC meetings, giving them an opportunity to give updates and flag any contentious matters from the outset so that our decision makers know what the issues are, what the problems are. And in this way, we could build inclusivity into the heart of the TSSA. Oh, and you also asked what my priority would be. Priority is inclusivity and making sure that the GS's performance is regularly reviewed.
Thank you very much. And now finally over to you, Bonnie.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, I was one of the victims of the bullying and harassment in the union. A lot of the problems and a lot of the cliques grew up around the drinking culture that existed. And as General Secretary, I would want to see the same limitation put on the General Secretary as is put on all of the organisers. Organisers are not allowed to buy alcohol on their union credit cards. I think that's absolutely right. If people want to have a drink and celebrate or instigate something, then that should not be on the members' money, especially when we've been being told for years that the finances are difficult. The main way of ending power hoarding, as far as I'm concerned, is we have to improve our democracy and we have to have absolute transparency, which we've not had. All of the staff and the senior management and the EC were forced to work in silos. I, as an organiser, didn't know what the person sat next to me was responsible for, what they were doing. There was no combination of work. And we had a situation, everyone in here will know it, where we had a General Secretary and his best mate as the Assistant General Secretary and his wife as one of the senior management team. That's problematic. We need to break that down with open transparency for our members to have a say. And as General Secretary, I would be working on behalf of the members via the EC. In that role, I'm used to having highly accountable posts. In a previous job when I worked in finance, I was regulated by the IFS. I would want the EC to approach me as a critical friend and challenge me on things. I'm perfectly open. I'm happy to give reports. In fact, I would give reports regularly to the EC. I would want the EC to invite a staff member to come to EC meetings and vice versa. I want EC members to come to staff meetings. So there is no more secrecy. There's no more fear about stepping on someone else's toes or acting outside of a very controlled remit. I would also hold regular drop-ins online for all members. If they wanted to have a conversation with me about anything, they would do it. I think initially I'd probably do that quarterly, but if it was popular and members wanted more often, I will do that.
Thank you very much. So let's open it out to a bit of a discussion now, and I'll let whoever wants to go first go first. But a ban on booze at union meetings. What do the candidates make of that? Who wants to go first? Duncan.
Is it unmuted? Yeah, it's unmuted. We're actually looking at bringing in a drug and alcohol policy for all members of staff, for the EC, and for people on union duties for the TSSA. You're not a union member just to go to the pub, sit down, and get leathered. You're not. You can't put a ban on alcohol because people still have social circles and people still sit down. After a long day, they want to go out, sit down and have a chat. The drinking culture was done in the Kennedy report because people were buying alcohol on the credit card and in some cases falling asleep in the pub. They'd spent that much money on the credit card. You cannot ban people having social drinks after a meeting, or sometimes they have them after meetings. Never in a meeting, never while you're working. I think the culture that came through was they would have meetings in the pub, which can't happen. Going forward, it shouldn't happen. That's my opinion.
Other candidates, after meeting, socialising, how do you get around the problems of a boozing culture?
Oh, sorry. Go, Maryam, go.
Maryam.
I think that was a Kennedy recommendation to ban alcohol. I don't want to destroy the social element, but I think senior officials don't need to drink alcohol when doing the business of the union. I think alcohol after work is fine in moderation and only in moderation. But I think given the circumstances that took place, I don't think any of the senior officials should be drinking alcohol.
Thank you. And Bonnie.
Thank you. Look, a lot of the business of the union and when people were selecting who was going to get anointed in various positions or get promotions, that was often done in the pub. That is not professional and it's exclusionary. For example, parents with young children want to get home after work, not go up the pub. People have health issues that mean they can't go into a pub. People don't drink. People have religious reasons not to go in a pub. So I think meetings should never actually happen in pubs. But if people want to have a drink and kick off and relax, that's fine, but it shouldn't be on members' money. It should be out of your own pocket, like it would be in any other job. My first job, as I said, was working for London Underground. I worked in the engineering directorate. It wasn't a safety critical role, but all of us could be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing, which meant that every one of us knew that we would not have a big session on a school night because it might get picked up in a random drug and alcohol test. We would lose our job. A lot of our members work under those rules. I think it's highly unprofessional to mix alcohol with business. Nothing wrong with kicking back after the business is finished on a social event, social occasion, but no business should be done in those circumstances. So I would say never on the union's bank account, never on the members' money, never in business, never in a professional capacity, but on a social. And as long as it doesn't affect you the next day, like drinking the night before you go to work and facing a random alcohol test, that should not be the case. We should never have senior management coming to meetings so hungover they can't run the meetings, which often happens.
I'm going to thank you very much all for that discussion. I'm sure we'll be touching on much of the rest of the Kennedy report in our other questions as well. Now we're moving on to democratic structures. I've been itching to ask a question of my own on this, but I'm going to do what I should do, which is ask the members questions. So again, similar-ish vibe, but this time we're going to allow, if you do feel you have an urgent point to make or to interject when another candidate's speaking, I will allow it for this round. So do add your thoughts that way. Of course, emphasis as before on respectful discussion. So first question, and we've got 10 minutes for this section. I'm just going to quote this member here because it's interesting. When I first joined TSSA many years ago, there were 5 branches based near me. Now there's just 1. Attendances are almost 100% retired members. Is there a future for local branches? And if so, how do they reconnect with working members? So who wants to take that first? Let's kick off with whoever is feeling most energetic. Duncan, yeah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my branch, we do get attendance every month. It is more of the retired members and the older section. It is a problem. We need the young people to come in. I mean, we've got 83 people on the conference this evening from 17,000 members. There's obviously some apathy there that we need to find what the problem is and get it fixed. Get more people involved. Get more people involved in the union. As I said before, if branches were more social without the drinking, where they had speakers there, we could interact with each other, people from the same companies. A lot of branches have
Oh, I'm
moving forward.
I'm
Sorry,
your line cut
Pardon?
out slightly there, but
oh, sorry.
that's okay.
We need to review the branch structure and the SOG structure and bring everybody together. Like I said, there's 83 people on this. This is the general secretary election of 17,000 members. We've got a problem, and it's a problem we need to fix.
Maryam, what do you think specifically needs to be done or can be done to ensure that, you know, local branches aren't just dominated by the same people every time and only by retired members? Where does that new blood come from?
So there's an Oscar Wilde quote that says the problem with socialism is it takes up too many evenings. This could equally apply to trade unionism. I think we need to speak to branches and find out what they think they could do to appeal to working members. Little initiatives such as changing the meeting time could help. Perhaps inviting interesting speakers might gauge some interest, or combining it with a networking social event. These could all have impacts in appealing to working members. I would ask future TSSA from the outset what they recommend branches should do to gauge the interest of working members. And if that doesn't work, we have to explore setting up workplace branches. I know we already have some, but setting up new workplace branches. We have to look at our democratic structures more widely, share good practice, perhaps offer online training for working members. Just off the top of my head, fostering some buddying program whereby retired members are buddied up with working members to share expertise and skills. This could be a way to you know, improve the mix in branches. Excuse me.
I'm just going to let that final sentence from you, Maryam, and then I'm going to bring in Bonnie. Yeah.
We definitely need to just include and bring branches into the policy making process of the union to make
Bonnie,
more.
What do you make of some of the proposals that you've heard from those two candidates?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's loads of things to explore, but at the end of the day, I'm all about democracy, and this has to come down to what the members want. Part of the problem that branches have with getting people to meetings is, first of all, access to the membership database, and the SOGs have a similar issue. So SOGs and branches need to have up-to-date contact details for everyone who is in their branch. Next step, branches need to have a regular slot for their meetings. Maybe 1 month they have it in an evening, 1 month they have it on a morning, or occasionally on a weekend, because that will accommodate our shift workers. We're a 24-hour industry, so we need to think about that. Branch meetings should be advertised clearly on the website, and there should be advertisements for branch meetings in News on the Go or regular communications from inside the TSSA. There is a problem that a lot of branches are dominated by retired members, but that's because they're not at work and presumably they got time, but they've also got a lot of experience. In 2015, we thought we would never see young people get involved in politics under the Jeremy Corbyn campaign, and they got involved because there were lots of local actions that excited young people. For instance, I think we need an economically and environmentally sustainable railway that's affordable for all. If we supported our branches to run campaigns on the environment, campaigns on economic problems and so on, that might be a way to bring more youth members in. But I would also, as Maryam said, want future TSSA to help direct that so that we can encourage younger members to come along. Now, the branch structures have changed a lot. The website doesn't necessarily include who the branch contacts are, which we need to fix. But with hybrid meetings and work organisations such as BTP being able to instigate their own branch, that's really positive. We need to look more at hybrid meetings so that more can go along, and actually start listening to our members, making branch meetings more than just a talking shop.
Thank you very much. We've got a question on a similar vein, actually, from another member. TSSA is deemed to be an organising union, but there's lots of weaknesses in the organising structures and effectiveness. How do you make organising effective on an ongoing basis? So we're looking here at the sort of big changes to the union, whether that's cultural or staffing or otherwise, that can actually lead to the union recruiting new members, particularly those I guess who are from underrepresented parts of the sector, or employers where there isn't a union presence yet. So let's kick off with Maryam this time on that one. How does TSSA actually become an organising union? This member wants to know.
There's definitely room for improvement, but the union has made huge steps towards becoming an organising union since the days where full-time officials were brought in to solve everything. I think now, having spoken to some reps, they have greater say in membership and deal in far more issues than before. But we must not forget TSSA is only a small union with a relatively limited resource. I could pretend we have funding to solve every single problem, but we need to ensure that we have well-trained and engaged reps with the right support and tools for the job. I think rep training and effective support is crucial in delivering for organising success. I will undertake to comprehensively review our activist training and development programme, directly involving reps in the process so we get it right in the future. But I will also review our comms so that the comms team are fully resourced to make our organising reps the best they get.
Duncan, any of those that you think will or won't work, and your own thoughts on that? Is TSSA doing enough to organise and recruit new members? And I'm just going to check before you answer that one with Will, because I saw a notification that we're running out of time, but just that the meeting isn't going to shut us out in a few minutes.
No, it's got the 15 minutes.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, I agree. Training is a major part. Are we organising people at the minute? We're not. I'm sorry, but this is why I'm standing. The communications, they're terrible. The website is terrible. The internal communications, the systems don't talk to each other. The full-time organisers can't go online and get the information they need. Members can't go online and get help that they need. The help centre, the help desk, that needs to be reviewed. If we're an organising union, we should be organising our members, and we're not. And it does come down to training. And as Maryam said, as Bonnie has said, more people in, more qualified people, helping the reps, organising the reps. I'm lucky I work for a company that has a company council, and we work together. Some of the companies have recognition in control, or revenue, or driver managers, or booking offices, but not the full lot. We need to strive. We need to show that we can organise and we can represent our members. The other way we're going to do that moving forward is ensuring that training is given top to bottom for everybody.
And Bonnie, we've heard a few potential shortfalls here: website not working, call line not working. Any of that stand out to you? What would you do?
Yeah, 100%. Look, can I just go back to basics? There are two models of running a trade union. One is servicing, one is organising. The idea of servicing is the staff take up personal casework and do that for our members. The organising one is one where organisers like myself and my colleagues actually get our members and our reps so involved and getting their workplaces jumping that we organisers make ourselves redundant. That's the ultimate aim of an organising union. We're not there yet, but also neither are almost any union as well. If you look at the true model, the bottom line is organising takes a hell of a lot more time than servicing. To organise a workplace, you have to know your workplace, you have to know your members, you have to know what the problems are, and you have to empower your reps and activists to pick them up with confidence and with skill. That requires training, and organisers will invest an awful lot of time in getting people to that place. But the bottom line is we need our members to be active. There was reference earlier on to our retired members. They've got loads of skill. They know the workplaces. They've got all of this information. It needs to be shared. I would like to see our activists buddied up with the retired members, and maybe that is something as well that we need to get happening in our branches.
There's some consensus on this buddy system, but yeah, last sentence or so.
But yeah, look, the bottom line is organising takes time. We're moving towards it, but we've still got caseworkers too. Like, we need to address that because it's about empowering our members, and that's why I do my job.
Thank you so much, all. So on to a quick fire round now. We're going to have 1 minute per question per candidate, and it's on staffing. So again, a nice little segue there. And I'll start with the first question. So, bearing in mind the recent and necessary loss of several senior staff, the previous inadequate functioning of the TSSA, how would you address a lack of experience and skills in the senior management team? So is SMT fit for purpose, and how do you reverse that? Maryam, are you happy to go first on this one? We'll kick off with you. Yeah.
I can do.
1 minute.
I've met many TSSA staff now, and I'm genuinely impressed with their many talents and dedication to TSSA members. But TSSA has been in crisis, and the Helena Kennedy report identified the huge potential of existing staff in stepping into various roles. So I will ensure that staff training and development opportunities are available to all, and not just the very few. I will harness the full potential of our existing staff, and if there is a skill shortage, we will recruit openly and fairly in every case.
Okay, Bonnie, we're going to come to you on this. How do you make senior management team fit for the future?
Yeah, obviously the previous senior management team were not fit for purpose. We've currently got one senior management team member who's permanent full-time. We've got 2 interim ones. I'm getting on really well with my particular line manager. It's brilliant. And it has been a problem getting the talent up there. But the reason that there is a bit of a lack of talent, more widely speaking, is that due to the problems identified in the Kennedy and Conley reports, we've lost 26 organisers in the last 7 years. Now, we're a small body of staff. Most of those organisers were ones that came and went from the London office. And most of that is because one of the person who is now suspended, it lays directly on her feet. We need to nurture the staff we've got. As Maryam mentioned, Helena said that we've got a really good, talented and committed body of staff who are well placed to move the union forward in leadership positions. She's absolutely right. We had conversations with her. She's identified what's going on. But the problem is, not only have we lost a lot of staff, which we shouldn't have done, that means we've lost a lot of talent and skills. We need to invest in our staff. Staff need to have some way to make career progression. And
so sorry, Will is he's a hardcore time monitor, but I won't argue with it. Brill, Duncan, you're next, please, on this one. SMT kicking it into shape.
Yeah, I'll refer you to the Kennedy report. It said there are many able members of staff to go into the SMT or general secretary with experience. We've got a number of members of staff that have got a lot of experience and can go into the senior management team. As Maryam said, they might need training. You know, what's the cost of training when you're going to get a great member of staff? We've already transitioned some members of staff across, which is great because they've got the experience of what happened before. They will know that that's not going to happen again, and if it does, they can get help straight away. We have got this. We have got the staff to move forward. We do need to recruit some more staff, admittedly, because the areas need to be reorganised and that. We've got an interim one at the minute, but yeah, I think we have staff on the members of staff that can go up to the SMT. I don't see why not. We've got some quite professional people, and I've worked with a number of them, and I've got a lot of time and respect for them. So I don't see it as they're not qualified. Some of them didn't apply because of the previous management team. We need to, encourage them.
Thank you very much. We're running slightly over time, so I'm going to do a super quick fire question on this one, which is pretty much going to be a yes or no. There's a question on the General Secretary's salary. It's exceptionally high for a union of our size and membership. One member asked, it's £103,000 a year, as I understand it. Would you reduce it? Yes or no? First to Duncan, cutting the Gen Sec pay? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Bonnie. Oh, and you're on mute.
Well,
Bonnie, you're on mute just there.
Sorry, yeah, I've said in my manifesto I will reduce my own salary if I get taken up in the role to the agreed collectively bargained pay scale that we have for the rest of the staff. Use the excess as seed funding for a strike hardship fund.
Okay, and Maryam, finally onto you.
Look, this is a matter for the EC. A Gen Sec does not set their own salary, and I think wage suppression is wrong for a union. How credible are we going to look if we're suppressing our own pay?
So that's a no there. Thank you very much. All right, quickly on to future of the union, which I think obviously is something that all of these questions come into, but let's look forward as well. First question, and we're going to have I think 1 minute per candidate per question on these. And the first question is, what will the TSSA's relationship with the RMT, ASLEF and other trade unions look like under your administration? So 1 minute each. This time we're going to start with Duncan, if that's okay. Sorry, I feel like I've started with you a little bit, but it'll be someone else next time.
Not a problem. Not a problem to say. There's no reason why the relationship can't be built. Certain things have happened in the past, you know, where people have fallen out. I was in ASLEF for quite a number of years, 14, 15 years. I know a couple of members of the RMT that are on the executive committee. I know executive committee members in ASLEF. I know some reps from Unite. They're all the railway unions, but we have to work with other unions as well, not just the railway unions. We've got the unions for the buses, the trams, you know, the ports, the ferries, the travel agents. We need to work together with all unions, especially with all the changes that are governing on the railway. We have to stand together. We haven't stood together at the minute, and that's why we've got different campaigns left, right and centre regarding the booking office. If we'd have worked together, we should have had a massive campaign and worked together, and it'd probably been a lot more fruitful.
Okay. Bonnie, over to you. Relationship with other trade unions in the transport sector. What would it look like under you?
In collective bargaining negotiations, I always work, all the unions are in there together making a pitch for the correct pay terms and conditions for our members. There's 90% the same demands from the unions, maybe 10% slightly differently, but we're adults, we can work with that, we can figure something out. I absolutely believe that we should be working with our sister unions. I already do for local campaigns and what have you. I invite local unions, transport unions. The last ticket office campaign session I did down the road was advertised through the Trades Council. We had members from Unite, members from the CWU, members from all unions are supporting us together. We're living in a time of unprecedented attacks on workers' rights and anti-trade union laws. We must remember that solidarity is always our watchword.
Thank you very much. And Maryam, onto you. What's the link with other unions look like under your leadership?
Well, as positive as possible. We achieve more if we work together, especially now under this current government. I have good relations with ASLEF. Mick Whelan, the General Secretary, is one of my referees. He knows me both from the Labour Party movement and the trade union movement. I want good relations with the RMT, but very often we want the same things, but we can't deny it. There are tensions there. I want to try and reset that relationship. I want good relations with other trade unions, but I'm absolutely committed to keeping TSSA independent. That's
a question I'm going to quickly ask all of you now, actually. And mergers have been on the table repeatedly with other unions over the past few years or so. Are mergers on or off the table under your leaderships if elected? Bonnie, mergers off the cards, on the cards?
We've had lots of failed merger talks over the last 10 years or so, some with sister unions, some with foreign unions. The bottom line is, as staff, we could recognise that we weren't being told the full truth about the need to merge and the reasons why a merger happened or why it didn't happen. I'm personally thrilled to bits the IBB merger didn't happen. That looked like a bad deal for us. Couldn't see what was in it for the IBB, so therefore I couldn't see how we were being told the absolute truth on that. And the GMB merger, well, I'm also glad that that one didn't come through. My intention is to grow and strengthen our union so we're industrially powerful, using every lever, and stay as an independent trade union. That is absolutely what I'm aiming for. We've got 126 years of history. Let's make another 126 years as an independent trade union.
And Duncan, ruling in or ruling out mergers with other unions?
Definitely rule out a merger. As Bonnie said, 126 years. We've lost a lot of members in the booking offices to a rival union. When things all come out at the end of the day, you know, them members might want to come back. You know, they might want to come back to the TSSA. A lot of members in the railway might come back to the TSSA. There's other opportunities on the buses, on the ferries, on the Metrolink, on the trams, on the railway, where we can gain more members. Network Rail alone, we could easily recruit another 1,000 members if we tried hard at it. So I'd say a merger is definitely not on the cards.
And then final question from the membership here. TSSA.
Sorry, I didn't answer that question.
Sorry, Maryam. Yeah, no, I was actually riffing on what you last said about it, but we'll give you a chance to answer too. Mergers in or out?
Off the cards, I was in a small union that was taken over by Unite, and we lost our specialism and identity. Growing the TSSA is the solution, not merger.
Okay, thank you very much. Second one, right. TSSA is obviously affiliated to the Labour Party. I want to find out what does that relationship with the Labour Party, which could be in government next year, what does that look like under the different candidates? And just specifically from this member, they've asked, how will you cultivate the relationship with the Labour leader and our parliamentary group of MPs to ensure the Labour Party delivers for our members? So we are going to kick off this time with Bonnie, if that's okay. TSSA's links to the Labour Party, what does it look like under you?
Okay, obviously we're affiliated to the Labour Party. I'm a Labour Party member. I hold office in my CLP. I'm taking a sabbatical as CLP secretary, but I'm also a bit concerned about their failure to step up to protect us with the anti-trade union laws. So I'm a member, but not one without any questions for them. I think we need to really hold the Labour Party to account. At conference in June, members wanted to have a referendum on whether we maintain our affiliation with the Labour Party. That's a membership question. They should be given the chance to have their voices heard. But as I also have had a long experience of high level Labour Party business, I think that we need to be doing more to push Keir Starmer. After all, our members nominated him to be leader of the Labour Party, and we need to do an assessment of whether or not he's done the job right by our members. So it's down to the members. I remain a member of the party, but not without questions.
And Maryam, this time, what does the Labour link look like if you're elected, Gensec?
I think we have to make sure that the affiliation delivers for TSSA members. So some of our industrial aims can be achieved through political means. I have high level experience of working in the Labour movement. He's not my leader, but I've worked with Keir Starmer. This team, I know how the NEP processes work, and I know how to tap into the processes to achieve for TSSA members. Under my leadership, I will place in demands on TSSA sponsored MPs. So no more blank checks for nothing. For our sponsorship, they'll have to deliver a certain number of urgent questions per month, a certain level of interventions per month. I'll also think about how, look, basically our affiliation isn't working right now. We need to demand much, much more from the Labour Party.
Demanding more. Duncan, fan of Keir Starmer or not? What does the Labour link look like under your leadership?
As I said previously, I'm pragmatic. Move forward with what's good for the union. If the membership keep the affiliation, that's fine. If the membership don't want the affiliation, that's also fine. However, if we don't try and forge a relationship, something that to the betterment of our members, then we'll never know. If the General Secretary comes in and sits down with the Labour Party, I remember previously we were promised nationalisation and it never happened. And somebody close to me got made redundant who worked on the railway at that time. So I was quite bitter about that. I would say we have to move forward. I think they're going to get elected in next year. If they are, then we'll see if they're true to their word regarding the trade unions that are basically the parents of the Labour Party. You know, that's what gave birth to them. I would.
Oh, I think we're struggling again with your line, yes. Duncan. But
sorry, is it
last sentence from you if we've got you back. Anything else you want to add?
Last sentence is pragmatic and see what we can do for each other.
Okay, thanks very much. So we're going to take it another final 5 minutes, and this is the spicy round. We're going to give candidates a chance to ask each other a question. So does anyone have a seething question or a lovely question that they'd like to ask of another candidate about their experience record and what they'll do as Gen Secretary? Gone all shy. Okay, Duncan, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I've fought from the start on a fair campaign for everybody. My questions would be to the other two candidates. What do you know about representing individuals when you are an actual rep in the company?
Okay, who wants to take that first? Bonnie, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So as part of my role, I've represented a number of members who were reps. As an organiser, we don't tend to get involved in representing rank and file members, but our reps get the next level up of support. Usually our reps represent the members. But I had a rep who was facing the loss of his job on health capability grounds. He was a rep. It was a very complex case. I actually took this on quite early on in my time in TSSA. He ended up being dismissed because of an accident that he had that caused him a disability. It was a disability that could have been treated, but it was going to go on for more than 12 months. So he was covered under the Equalities Act. They sacked him. I appealed. They reinstated him. Then about 6 months later, they sacked him again. We took it to tribunal. Morris drew the schedule of loss for him. This was a guy who'd worked on the railway since he was 16 years old. He'd had 25 years on the railway. One of the significant losses would have been the loss to his railway pension, which would have been a huge blow to him and his family, as well as the loss of his job. The schedule of loss put together by Morris with the research that I did and the documents I gave them was £500,000. The tribunal came up 2 years later on the steps of the tribunal court. What do you know? When the employer had previously offered, when they'd offered £2,000, we got £53,000. He
So sorry. Good sum up though. Maryam, do you have any experience of representing actual members? Duncan wants to know.
Yeah, I was workplace rep in my previous workplace, Duncan. I was a health and safety rep too. I was involved in negotiating a massive improvement to a redundancy scheme. I represented a dozen blacklisted workers in the blacklisting litigation that I was involved in at UCAT. But even as a counsellor, I took on the case of a black worker who was denied promotion.
Okay, and Bonnie or Maryam, do you have a question for the other two? And yeah, I should have said at the start, with 30 seconds ideally in responses or a minute max, please. So question for the others. No? Okay. Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just say, I have also fought a clean and honest campaign. I'm not interested in attacking any of the other candidates. At the end of the day, we all want to do the best by our union and be able to work together going forward, whichever one of us gets this position. So, and as a result of that solidarity between us, the three of us have got a ticket office campaign day. We're all going up to Manchester. We're going to be spending the day together. And I'd like to think that if any of the other candidates had any questions they wanted to ask me, I'd be very happy to answer it. But I'm just not into potentially embarrassing one of our other candidates. I don't think that would be particularly helpful.
That's a wonderful note to end on, because actually my final question to wrap up was going to be say something nice about the other candidates. So any words of praise for your other comrades who are standing? Duncan.
Yeah, as Bonnie said, me, Maryam and Bonnie meeting tomorrow to campaign at Manchester Piccadilly at 10 o'clock if anybody wants to come. 11:30 at Deansgate and then down to Oxford Road. We've always wanted a clean campaign and a clean fight going forward for everybody. But it just shows that we've got three people here who want to change the union. And as I said previously, there's 75 people on here and 17,000 members. I would ask anybody to vote, not necessarily for myself, although I do want that, but I want everybody to vote just to show that it's the members' decision. And I wish both well.
And Maryam, I'm taking it you echo those words of niceness and kindness to other candidates.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Well, on that note, and it's pretty rare for a Hustings, I have to say, to end on such solidarity, but we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much to all the candidates who've spoken tonight. Bonnie, is it a point of order from you?
Really quick, if any members got any questions they'd like to ask me, please get in touch and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. I echo Duncan's thing though, please vote. Whoever you vote for, please vote. I hope you vote for me, but use your vote.
Please vote. I'm sure that's a sentiment others can echo as well.
Josiah, I just wanted to thank the audience for listening to us. I really appreciate the time that they've set aside to listen to 3 candidates just go on about their CVs. So absolutely, whoever you vote, there won't be respect from me.
Thank you so much. And first and foremost, thank you so much to everyone who's attended, and vast majority of people who attended this call tonight, this hustings, have stuck with to the very end, which is absolutely brilliant. So ballot papers issued tomorrow, 25th of August, and the closing date for sending them back is the 22nd of September. And I just want to thank again all the candidates, everyone who helped organise tonight, the staff on the call, Will and Liz as well, for doing keeping this thing ticking along. And all the best with the rest of the campaign to everyone, and to the future of the union. As a union member myself, been in the NUJ many years, I wish it all the best. So thanks again for having me. It's been an absolute honour, and have a good weekend and rest of your evening. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'll say thank you before Will mutes me.
Duncan, thanks for good humour.
See
No worries.
you tomorrow, Duncan.
See you
and
tomorrow.
Maryam.
Thanks all.
Yeah, see you both tomorrow.
Oh, well.